Internets, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of Sultans and Sneakers. I'm here with Umair Haseeb again for the third time. At this point, I don't think you're a guest anymore. I think you're more like a contributor, would you say? Whatever you want to call it. Would it make you feel better if it's a guest or a
of course, dude, because I feel like guests get special treatment.
Special treatment, okay. Well, I wanted to do this show, so I just got back from Morocco, like Spain, a 2-week vacation. Probably the best vacation of my life, I was telling people. And so I think, spent some time in Spain, 5 days in Spain, and then 5 days in Morocco. And the 5 days in Morocco, really the highlight was the 3 days in Fez. I don't think I'd ever go back to Tangier, to be honest. Have you been to Tangier?
Yeah. I mean, most people don't go back.
What do you think about Tangier?
It's a place you go. It's a beautiful place. Even Batuta's there, I think.
Right.
Rahmatullahi
the airport's in Veterum.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little more dangerous.
You know what? It was like, I had a little incident before we kick off. In Morocco, you're just getting hustled left and right. That's like, you told me it's rite of passage. People will ask you, like one of the guys that, Sidi Ayoub, you helped me with, he connected with us there. He was telling me, like, in Morocco, it's like, even if you walk a step, they'll ask you for money for something. Like, if they give you direction, or even they tell you, oh, you're right here, they'll expect something. So, I had gotten the hang of this by now, and in Fez, he kind of deflected a lot of stuff from me. I got hustled a little bit for, like, I don't know, 25 dirhams the first night, which really isn't nothing, like, what, like $2?
$2.50, yeah.
Yep. Because these guys gave me wrong directions. But anyways, so I get to Tangier, and we see our hotel. It's on the Corniche, like, on the
beach.
Yeah. And it's the El Rio Hotel or something. So anyways, we see it. We don't know where to park. So we figure out parking. And then we just don't see like a walkway to it. We're figuring it out. So my wife's like, why don't you just go in and check in for us, and then like come back and like get the material, the luggage, and the kids. So I'm out there, and some guy comes to me. He's like, brother. It's like, I speak English. He's like, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to the El Rio. He's like, El Rio right here. I'm like, yeah, I see the sign. He's like, brother, give me 50 dirhams. I was like, for what? He's like, I show you El Rio. I'm like, I know where. I see the sign. It's right here. I'm in front of the building, right? And then he's like, brother, give me 50 dirhams. I'm like, listen, man, you give me 50 dirhams, or I'll call the police. And then he like ran. He's like, I'm sorry, brother. He like took off, right? So I was like, I about had it at that point. And then these kids at the, I'll tell you the story. So we're at the horses. There are like pony rides and stuff and camel rides on the beach. The next day in Tangier, like the one of the main days we stayed there, and so we got like so my wife and Hadia, my older daughter, they went to the beach. They wanted to go put their play in the water and the sand and stuff. And then Mariam, the 2-year-old, we left the baby at home. She wanted to ride those carousels that they have going on, like makeshift like some days there's like some temporary outlet they just plug into, and so she wanted to ride on that, and it was a good deal. I think it's like 5 dirhams for like 20 minutes or something. So then these guys come with a pony, and they're like, "Does she want to ride it?" And she didn't want to ride it. But then what happened was they hustled. This is how they got us. So they took one of the ponies to Hadia and my wife, and they were pointing to like me, make it. And my wife thought that I had okayed her to ride on a pony. So next thing I know, my 6-year-old is on a pony in front of me, and then my 2-year-old's like, "Oh, I want to ride that too." And I'm like, "I'm already in." At this point, you're already like,
your kid's on the horse.
Yeah,
what you're gonna do
right. Your kid's on the horse. So I asked the guy who was the carousel guy. I was like, "How much should we pay for the horse ride?" And as much as he had no English, but I was like, "How?" Like I was using fingers, and he said he put it's like 5 dirhams. But it's a horse ride. It's a horse pony ride. Across the like to the like end of the marina. It was like a good 30 minutes. So this is going on. These guys are asking for a picture. They're like, "You want any pictures? We'll take a picture." All this kind of stuff. They very little English, right? Spoke French and Arabic. They're teenage kids. Like I think one's like probably 13, 15, around that age, right? Got their names. Like we're all friendly to them and stuff. And I'm like, all right, these kids are. This is a decent amount of like horse ride. If they're only supposed to get 5 dirhams, I'm gonna give them 20 dirhams each. So they were done, and I gave them 20, and then they're like, "Oh no!" There's like, we give you all this. They were kind of like pointing like, and then I think they were asking for like 200 dirhams each or something.
$40 about.
So like $20 per horse because both my kids were on it, right?
Yeah, geez.
And I was like, yeah, no, right? I was like, then so I was like, you take the 20 or you're getting nothing, right? I was kind of like, as much as like I don't know if they could understand me, but but they gave it back to me, and I took the 20s each and I put it in the like little thing of the ponies, like the saddle, and I walked away. And then they came back and they gave me the 20s and they walked away. Like they were like, they're not taking them, only my 20s. They were like, it's like kind of like you're insulted, kind of like you're insulting me, kind of thing. And I'm like, all right. I'm not paying nothing either. I'm not taking these for free, because you understand. Like I'm like, okay, it's only $2. It's like, what would I pay for a horse ride in America for these kids? I don't know, but I go back and forth, and they were like, listen, I'll give you. I did have like $200 dirham bills, so I pulled that out, and they were like, no, give us $150 each. They went down. I was like, listen, that's all I got, man. It came out to like $130 each. I think so $13 per horse. And then I saw like some police, and I went up to them and I wanted to like get clarification. I already paid them, but I already paid these kids, and these kids saw me going to the cops, so they like fall behind me. And I was like, any of you guys speak English? One guy was like, I'm like, listen, well, what's appropriate price for like a horse ride here? And the cop was like, I told him how much I paid, and the guys told him, like, I couldn't understand what he told them, like how far he took them. But my kids were on the horse for like a good half an hour.
Yeah.
I told them to stop. They were gonna go further, but I was like, I was walking. I was like, I'm tired. Turn back around. So, what do you think? How bad was I hustled?
It's just, dude, it's part of going to a third world country. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think what would have happened if when these kids came back and gave me my 20 dirhams back, and I just said, all right, fine.
Yeah, you'd walk away. They'd probably hope that you keep turning around. But if you kept going straight, I mean, what are you gonna do?
Would they chase me down then?
I don't know how it is in Tangier, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know how it is.
What would you pay for? What's the appropriate price for? Is it really 5 dirhams for a horse ride?
I wouldn't have paid for any. I wouldn't have gone on a horse, first of all. But
no, but you have a kid. You're in my situation.
I'm in your situation. I mean, I would have given him like $50, dude. $50, $60 dirham.
50, 60 dirhams.
Yeah. I think that would have been. I mean, Allah knows best. I don't know. I don't want to expose myself here and start.
Right.
You put me between a rock and a hard place.
No, you know what? I'm gonna about to Tangier. I'm gonna find those kids.
Man, no,
you know what I'm saying? I was like, Hamza and Ilyas. If y'all watching, I'm coming for you. You know.
Hey, Ali, you got to. They're young entrepreneurs, man. You gotta respect.
I do gotta respect that.
You gotta respect
their livelihood. I mean, what? It's peanuts for.
Don't hate the player. Hate the game.
We're about to spend like that much money on coffee.
Yeah.
Like after this show.
Hey, at least they're not selling. You know what I'm saying?
And
at least they're not
doing good. The kids enjoyed it. I mean,
kids
that's
enjoyed
why,
it.
At
least
it was kind of. But because we had to haggle so back and forth at the end,
it's halal money.
But it made it kind of like a little sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah, that's the only.
Because it was like hard. It was like we were like I was rough with them. I was like fear Allah. I was like ittaqullah. What should I know, right? Astaghfirullah. As soon as they give it back to me, I was like astaghfirullah. And then they were like Allah knows. You know, they looked one of the sky, and I'm like, these freaking like Moroccan kids' dawah is probably worth more than mine. But anyways, I want to get to the topic because we don't have a lot of time today. But the thing about Morocco, I mentioned Fez, and so the thing about Fez that's really unique, I think, Fez. First of all, it interests me now why non-Muslims go to Fez, because it is a cool city, and it's an old city that's how long since the 800s, 900s. It's been inhabited?
More than that, 7 something.
Yeah?
Qayrawayyin was established in like 850 something.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a very old city.
All right. The thing about it, it's the people that make Fez. I think that's what makes Fez special. And the people, I think you only really get that if not only do you have to be Muslim, but you have to be of a certain orientation. You know what I'm saying? Like, so with people who are like listening to this as a lay person, right? You have different groups of Muslims, right? Fez, because it's a spiritual city, it's called or city of saints. These terms of like spirituality, saints, these kind of things is, I think, usually identified with the mystic, the Sufism, these realms of Islam versus like what you find in other parts of the world. Maybe like the more, I don't want to say orthodox because we would say that Sufism is also under orthodoxy, right? But I think for someone to really get it, they have to kind of already be on that vibe, so to speak. But you used to tell me about saintly people, right? That you'd see them in Morocco, but then you find it all over it. But that's kind of my thing. I wanted to get your take as someone who grew up in America in a materialistic world. What was your mindset towards this concept of like sainthood and spirituality before you went to Morocco?
That's a good question because I don't quite remember exactly because it was these things were not at the middle of the conversation for a lot of us. Coming from Chicago, coming from sort of the culture we grew up in, you have to also realize the way we look at Islam in the United States is very, very American, whether we like it or not. Because as much good there is, one part of it is that we're very cynical. We come from a culture of cynics. Is that we don't, we don't believe in the husna dhan, a good opinion, is not like, it's not a thing as much as it is in other parts of tradition, and as much as it is for like traditional people that grew up in traditional societies, let alone in a time that was of like the yesteryear.
Yeah.
Right. The idea of safety, the idea of all of these different things. So yeah, I mean, you come from and cynicism has its place, but like or critique has its place. I don't know about cynicism, but the critique has its place. But you really, this idea of like, because I remember the first time, when I 2012 or something, I was in Fez, Morocco, and I was taken by a very good friend of ours. His name is Sayyid Muhammad al-Zakari al-Alawi, who is the son of Mawla al-Hassan, who was one of the sheikh, a big sheikh in Morocco, as well as a student of Muhammad ibn al-Habib.
Okay.
And who took me around, and he was, just everywhere we went, he would say, "Huwa min al-awliya wa hadha wali Allah wa huwa min al-awliya." That's a friend of God. That's right. A friend of God, which is interesting for saints in our tradition. We say are people that are close to God, right? We're not saying people that are divine or people that are that are like ma'soom, they're sinless. We're saying people that have an intimate relationship with God, a friendship with God.
Right. Okay.
Right. So, but as he's telling me, he's pointing to all these people, right? In my head, I'm like, all right, word, like really, all these people, like dang, whatever. There was a teacher that I had who passed away. His name was Sheikh Sidi al-Ayyashi.
Right.
Rahmatullah alayh, and he was a blind scholar, and he was a very big. He was considered one of the big saints of Fez at the time, and he died at 126 years old. And I remember sitting with him after he had finished a lesson or a dhikr or a remembrance session, and I asked him, "I have a question for you, Sheikh," and he said, "What's that?" And I said, كيف عندكم الأولياء في كل الأركان وما عند أولياء في مدينتي? How come you have saints of God, friends of God in every single corner of the city, and we don't have anything in America? And he told me, ittaqillah. He said, fear God. And I said, oh, what? Like, I was like, all right. Allahumma ja'alni muttaqi. Allah make me amongst the ones that fear Him. And then he narrated a tradition for me where the Prophet was reported to have said, لا أجمعون 40 من أمتي إلا فيهم ولي. No 40 people amongst my ummah, my people, my community gather except amongst them is a saint. And he told me, you have friends of God as well. You just don't treat them like friends of God.
Okay.
Right.
And this, would people dispute this? Like
probably
as like for authenticity.
Oh yeah, probably. But that's neither here nor there right now.
Why not though?
Huh?
What if someone would let's say I am somebody who's a cynic or a skeptic, right? And I'm like, that hadith isn't authentic, and then you just blow it off like that doesn't matter. Why doesn't it matter?
I mean, well, now it doesn't matter because if you come in with that perspective, well, let me tell you why. But let me finish the rest of the story. So
Okay.
so first, then I said, oh dang, and then he told me then I said, well, isn't that difficult because God hides all of his friends? Another hadith, which is the Sahih hadith, was where the Prophet said the friends of God are the first to be forgotten and the last to be remembered. So in our head, number one, we're always thinking about the more popular person in the room, right? The person that has the most amount of followers or this or that as being the friend of God, which could be the case, right? But we often don't talk about the person that nobody really talks about. He's in the back of the room.
Yeah.
So they're the first to be forgotten, last to be remembered. I was like, how are you supposed to know them? He said, because there's a hadith that we all know, which is hadith Qudsi, a tradition that is divine, a hadith that is divine, meaning God said it, and it's in the 40 hadith Imam Nawawi. Whoever shows hostility to my friend, my wali, I have declared war upon them. Right? I've declared war upon them. So I said, that's wild, because you don't want to, you know what I'm saying? And I said, how do you know that? And he said, well, that's the whole point. If you were to know who these people are, like by name, you would discriminate. But the default for the believer is you treat everybody like they're saints. So with the idea of like, what would a cynic say to things like that? Is that how could you be cynical about the very thought that you're supposed to treat most human beings like they're friends of God? You know what I'm saying? Right. How is that not the default? Right? Like, this is under the chapter of Fadal. This is under the category of Fadal al-A'mal, which is like good actions. Meaning, we don't take ruling from it, sure.
Yeah.
But we take the idea. We take they reinforce our Quranic narrative.
Right.
So that's how I felt, and that was the moment where my thing was sort of like I flipped it, because people are saying, "Oh, dude, you know what I was thinking about when that? I was thinking about like when you come back home, the uncles and the aunties that like do the chairs and do the parking duty, and the people in the community that like nobody's really thinking about, but they're sort of like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they're cooking the food for people, they're doing the meal services, they're making sure the spot is running, they're the ones who are visiting the sick and whatever. Like those are the first people I thought in my head. And I was like, oh snap, that's what because I think that's what the sheikh was trying to tell me.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have them, you just don't see it. Right. Like lift the veils up for a second.
Sometimes there are people that are known, but you automatically think it's like a sheikh. It's not necessarily a sheikh figure. It could be like just a dude in the community. You might know he might be well known for certain things. Yeah. Right? Yeah. But you don't process that, he's like, who knows? Okay, so we covered two things. So the person a saint, a wali of God, a friend of God, could be someone who is both known but also hidden. Yeah, he could be either. It's not. It doesn't say that.
Well, the categories are there. They know that they're known and they're open to the public. That they're hidden from the people, or they know and they choose to hide themselves, and they're in the public. Those are usually the four categories.
Okay, so here's a perspective that I have. So like, there's people that I've met in America who, even they know me by name, who people say that they're friends of God. I don't want to name them, but you're like some senior scholars and whatnot. And like, definitely they're spiritual people, but it's like, I didn't like I guess, I don't know what it was. Like, you get around them, you're like, you don't get the feels, who knows? It doesn't validate or invalidate anything, but like, when they would tell me that this guy's a wali, I'm like, I mean, I could see how he's a very special person, and people will tell me that, but like, something like didn't click. You understand what I'm saying? But then, like, when you had me, Meknes wasn't part of the trip. So Meknes is a little city outside of Fez, like an hour outside of Fez. So I knew about Muhammad ibn al-Habib at a very superficial level, only because of the diwan, and my daughter likes singing the diwan because it's like on my SoundCloud playlist, right? And that's and the book by Peter Sanders is in there. Like he has like 2 pages dedicated to him, and my understanding is that a lot of the benefit that we get in our community is because people like maybe Dr. Omar Abdul Hakim Murad, Sheikh Hamza, I don't know if they had met him personally because he died in 1972 or something, but through that, either him or his direct students, that like a lot of them came to Islam. I think that's there's this kind of connection there. So I knew about him, but at a very superficial level, but I've been intrigued by this idea of like saints and stuff for the last several years, and that's why I bought Peter Sanders' book.
Yeah,
and so you told me you should go visit Meknes and go visit my teacher Mullah Hashim, and then also visit the tomb of Muhammad ibn al-Habib. Now, we did not get a chance to go to the tomb of Muhammad ibn al-Habib. I don't know how far it was from Mullah Hashim's place. Is it far? Or?
Yeah, it's like 5 minutes walking.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We should have gone.
Oh, yeah, it's right there.
I didn't like...
It's behind, for anybody that's, listening to this, if they ever go to Meknes, it's directly behind the Zaytuna Masjid in Meknes.
Okay, is the Zaytuna Masjid a big courtyard masjid?
Yeah, it's a nice... Yeah.
It's a big one. So I prayed there.
It's a beautiful mosque. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
It's really cool. It has a tree in the middle of it.
Because you park, and there's this nice courtyard that the kids...
With the Zaytuna tree.
Oh, really? I didn't pay attention to that. I was like... Because that wasn't part of the plan. It was like, we're going to go to Mullah Hashim's place. And for some reason, it slipped my mind to visit, like, ask him about, like, the tomb of Muhammad ibn al-Habib. So, when I visited Mullah... So, first thing, I got excited because, like, I saw the picture pop up. Because I think you gave Sidi Ayub, who's my guide there, the number.
Yeah.
And he called, and then his son, Sheikh Abdul Kabir.
Sidi Abdul Kabir, Sheikh Abdul Kabir.
He called him, and I was like, that's the guy? I'm like, yeah, he's in the book. He's in the Peter Sanders book. I was like, that's great. So I got like real excited. And then I remember reading about it, and I was like, all right. And I Googled what I could while I was there, before. And so I was like, oh, he's like the Khalifa of Muhammad ibn al-Habib, right? So I was like, so when I got around him, I was like definitely got the feel, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could feel it.
Yeah.
Right? Even though he couldn't understand, like, I had a translator, and, but it's like you go in, and I think his daughter, like, answered the door for us, and, we sat for a little while in his living room, and they brought us the tea and the biscuits and, the nuts. And then he came out, and he sat with us for about 30 minutes or so, and when we excused ourselves, but in a minute, and I don't know what it was, but on reflection, I think it's because I may have been more attuned to it as well, because of the environment. Not to take away from the people here in America, but because Fez is like, when you're walking through, so I think you have an expectation when you're going there that this is the city of saints. This is like where all these like righteous people are buried, and that there is and I think the way I was like telling myself, because I was like also thinking about how do I explain this to people when I go back, because people is like, this is goofy, man. This is like so there's the other hadith that I think about. There's the hadith where Allah loves a person in creation, and He tells all the angels to love that person.
Well, if Allah loves somebody, then He tells Gabriel, Ya Jibreel, inni uhibbu fulan, I love such and such by name.
Right.
And Gabriel goes to the heavens, and he tells all of the inhabitants of the heavens that I love such and such by name, so love him. Right. So he becomes beloved to the heavens.
Right. And then even the creation, like the animals.
Yeah. Everybody, all of creation becomes beloved.
Right, to that person, to that individual. So I was like, that clicked for me. I was like, because like the graves aren't, because we think about graves like, oh, there's just dead bodies and corpses in there and like stones, right? But then I'm like, that's why this city is blessed, because you got like all the creatures, like even though those people have passed on, their remnants are still like, you know what I'm saying? That's kind of how I
don't say the ones who have passed in the way of God are dead, but they're alive, you just don't see it. In that, we could say whatever we want, their souls are present, but you can also say that the legacy is there, the idea that they're getting remembered. I mean what is honestly, what is like, what's death, right? Like, what is that? Like, what does that even
Passing
mean?
to another phase.
You know, it's just a transitioning. So like, a lot of it, you know, these people are not forgotten.
Yeah.
Like who's Ibn Ajrum is buried in Fez, who the Ajrumiya.
Mm-hmm.
Ibn Ashur is buried in Fez.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote he wrote the book Ibn Ashur Maliki, huge book in Maliki. See, Abdul Aziz Dabagh
Right.
is buried there. Subhanallah. Mullah Idris is buried there, the great grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Mm-hmm.
Sidi Ali Jamal, the teacher of Mullah Arabi Daqawi. You know, I can go on and on and
Right,
on and
right.
just keep listing great. See the Harazim, Yusuf al-Fasi, Ibn Qadir al-Fasi, like a lot of people, you know, the family members of Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you have people that, or, you know, Qadi Abu Bakr ibn Arabi, you know, a huge, a master in the Maliki school of law, like, you know, people like that. Then you have people, Sayyidah Zuleikha, may Allah be pleased with her, I buried her when she passed away, Muhammad ibn his wife. You know what I'm saying? I was there, you know, we, you know, had the honor of she was a teacher. I met her so many times and, you know, had the honor of bearing her. But like, you know, but expand on, you know, because you met Mullah Hashim.
Yeah.
And then you met Sheikh Idris.
And then, but then the person, but Mullah Hashim is known at this point.
Yeah.
Thanks to Peter Sanders and Michael Sugic. People like have either read about him.
Oh yeah, I mean,
or seen the pictures, right?
Yeah, and that,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's the Khalifa of Muhammad ibn Habib, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's like,
it's a big, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? By the way, that concept, so that's something that people who are like non-Sufis may have a hard time understanding. Can you explain that concept in Russia? Like how someone can be like, so he's pretty, Muhammad ibn Habib is known as this like great saint-like figure, right? Obviously some of our brethren wouldn't recognize him, but that's like, that's going to be an ideological difference.
That's fine. It's not a big deal.
You know what I'm saying?
Alhamdulillah. It's not,
you know, but like, the idea of having so it's almost like Mullah Hashim would be his chief disciple. Kind of thing.
It's sort of like I mean, I would think of it. It's like in Aqidah, you have scholars that are masters in Aqidah and theology. Imam Ashari, Imam Maturidi, Imam Sunusi, etc., etc. And then they have a chain, and one sort of carries on the tradition of the other. In fiqh, you have the same thing, right? You have the Maliki,
right?
You have the Maliki teacher, Imam Malik, and then you have a Shafi'i, or then you have like, you know, students of Imam, or you have like Wahban and Malik, and you know, etc. You have this chain of students,
right? And
they represent the ones before them at some level. And spirituality, you have the same thing as well.
Yeah.
Which this is the system of sort of what you call attempting for, like, look, man, the vast majority of people are not going to study the scholarship. If people believe that, you're out of your mind. Like they're not gonna, you know. They're not going to delve into tradition. A lot of the conversations we have are irrelevant to them about traditional things, right? Like a lot of us are weirdos, man. Like if you look at, like, we're really, like, we're weird. Like you guys hang out and have, how do you explain that? Like, yeah, we hang out sometimes and have arguments about like religion,
political Islam. It's like, oh, cool. Yeah, I guess
you know, like I guess whatever. But what people that have access, people are trying to attempt to, like, you know, when God says, you know, there's going to be a day la yanfa'u, that nothing will benefit, la yanfa'u, you know, their al-bunun wal mali, like their children and their wealth will not benefit them, and nothing will ata illa qalbun salim, but nobody would approach God except a heart that is at peace.
Right. People
are trying to be there. They're just like, yeah, I need to do that. Like, I don't know, how do I do that? Because I want to go to work, do my 9 to 5.
Yeah.
I want to show, how do I do that? And that's that concept.
So it's
like,
more practical. It's more
dhikr. You know, you do your dhikr if you have somebody who gives you a dhikr that is rooted from the book in the sunnah.
Right.
It's about, like, there is no, I'll give you an example. Like, when you met these people, there is no entourage around them.
Yeah.
There is no, they're very accessible. Like, dude, it was one phone call.
Yeah, right.
It wasn't like an appointment. How many people did you have to go through? Like, think about it. You had me, of all people,
right.
a miskeen dude from Chicago,
right,
give you a phone number.
Yeah.
I called him. He messaged. I told him, hey, could Sidi Mahin come and visit you? He said, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Fix it up. Within like 3 hours, we made it happen.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't rocket science. And they were just like, yeah, come through. I'm here. Right? If like, and you come and you visit, and there is no like let me tell you a story real quick, because I know, you know, time's a factor. The teacher of Sheikh Muhammad, of the student of Sidi Muhammad ibn Habib. One of his name was Sidi Muhammad bil Qurshi. He passed in 2013, I think. 12-13, rahmatullah alayh. But they wanted him to take his place, right? And basically hold. What does that mean? Is that he sort of like leads us. He's the eldest. He's been around the longest. He was a very, very spiritual person. He didn't want to take the chair. He was like, no, I don't want to be, I don't want to be the sheikh. And it got so distant from him. He actually, he was a muqaddam, his representative, but he left to the middle of the Saharan desert,
right,
in a place over there, and you can go visit his madrasa.
I'm actually going to ask you to like maybe just fix your position. That way you don't have to like keep moving your hands. That way you can just face me instead of like looking arbitrarily to this
that makes sense. Yeah.
fake audience that we don't have. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
You would have an audience, but coronavirus, so you couldn't have
right.
one. But
anyways.
But anyways, so like this one person from the UK or something wants to come visit him, and he lands in Casablanca, and it's about a 13-hour trip from Casablanca to his spot. Knocks on the door. Servant number 1 opens the door.
Yeah.
Right? Ahlan wa sahlan, marhaban, ala ra'si wa aini, marhaban, like welcome, whatever. It comes. It's a servant number 2 brings the tea. So he's cooking the tea on the side.
Yeah.
Servant was talking to me. How's it going? Right? Servant number 2 then brings like the couscous.
Yeah.
With the chicken. Then whatever. Then they're talking. It's been like 30 minutes. Then he brings the lamb, whatever. Then he brings like the fruits, which is their dessert, right? Yeah. And they're talking for like an hour and a half, which seems to be a very, very long time. And he's having a great time. Servant number 2 keeps serving. And he brings like these hand washing things where you basically don't even have to get up. Like the person washes your hand for you.
Right.
So he washes the British dude's hand and servant number 1's hand, and he walks away. And the British guy goes, thanks for everything. I really appreciate it. Thank you. But like, is the sheikh here? Is he going to come? Like, is he even in town? He's like, what do you mean is he here? He's the one that just washed your hands. That was Sheikh bil Qurshi. Like, these were real people, dude. Like, this is not ancient history. This is 23. This is not long ago.
So he was one of the servants.
He was one of the servants. He thought the sheikh was a servant, just a random servant, right? And his picture's in that book too, right? Sheikh bil Qurshi. He's in that book.
In the mountains of okay.
Yeah, I believe so. And and I think Michael Sugich, Sidi Harun Sugich, Michael Sugich, may Allah protect him, has a plethora of stories about him too. But you know what I'm saying? So like,
and he passed in 2013.
I think so, around then. And this is from all traditions. You have it from the Indian tradition of scholars, the Mauritanian. I've visited a lot of Mauritanian scholars and lived with them and saints and things like that. But you have people like that. So what is that tradition?
Yeah.
The Khalifa, he makes sure that doesn't go away, like that. What I just explained to you, how to articulate
that makes sense. That
doesn't go away. Like, that's still part of our tradition. Which
yeah,
is
because if it's not, it's easy to see how that could just get lost.
Totally,
if someone dies.
Exactly right. Where where in our tradition is, how much of our tradition at the ethos of it is like what the Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Innama bu'itu bi'tu li'utammima makarim al-akhlaq." I was only sent to perfect noble character, and your whole life is an attempt to perfect complete noble character to God. Like, you neglect your prayers, you're having bad akhlaq with God,
right.
And then with human beings, with the prophets, with the tradition, right?
Yeah.
So like, how do you articulate good character, good adab, right? That's not like, how many are going to read about good character? No, it's osmosis.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You learn about it through who you're with.
Yeah.
And how much of our tradition is about serving people and feeding people and just like you're just hanging out with them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Despite who they are, sometimes you don't know them. They're not your boys.
Yeah.
But you just have to see how they're doing. How much of our tradition is asking people just how are you rather than where you've been and what do you think?
How did you meet Moulay Hashem?
Come on. You want to tell you the whole story?
I mean, sure.
Well, inshallah,
I'll be a little late for Mad Mamluks, but
I hope I'm not exposing too many stories. But you asked, so you asked.
Okay.
So you asked. So if anything,
because you didn't know who he was really before you at the Fez, right?
No.
Okay.
No. I was living with I hadn't seen. I mean, I've never had the opening of seeing him for like the good first 2 years of me living in Fez, and I was there for quite some time. I was with my teacher at the time, and I was living in his house, and he never allowed me to go anywhere except for the Zawiya, the Jami'ah, the school.
Yep.
and back home.
Right.
Right. And I could go like work out or something.
Sure.
Whatever. But like he never really let me socialize. I had an exam the next day, and there was a brother that wanted to visit the Sheikh in Fez. And he was from Baluchistan, may Allah bless him. And there's another brother from New Jersey, actually, who messaged me, who was visiting with him as well. And they just, people just go there and like, they don't know each other before. They just, like, you meet a lot of people when you go to these places, right?
Yeah.
And as you know, like, people that have old friends reunite at a lot of these places, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just interesting how that works. I'm just saying. But so the Sheikh goes in front of the Sheikh when I'm in. He goes, Umair, could you take me to go visit Mawlid Hashim? And I look at the teacher, and the Sheikh goes, yeah, take him. And me, I watch this. I go, but Sheikh, but you said not to go. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I said, but you said not to go. Like, and he's like, don't worry, you're gonna be good. You're gonna find something good there. It'll be good for you.
Okay.
And I was really upset having an exam, because when you're like, it's like when you're on a diet and somebody's trying to get you to cheat.
Yeah, like give me that cheesecake.
Like, give me that cheesecake. You know how it feels like. Yeah. But Allah bless cheesecake. Shout out to the sister that was making that. She made that delicious cheesecake.
Baked by Maisha.
Baked by Maisha. Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to Baked by Maisha. And so I was like, man, dude, I don't want to do this. So like, the whole time I'm like, yeah, let's go, dude. Meet me at this part. Let's go. And I'm like, mashallah. But back of my head was like, I can't believe I should be studying. Like, I should be on my groove. Like, I was in such a good groove. Like, you know what I'm saying? I was on such a great schedule. And no. So he doesn't say, I'm sorry. He doesn't say, take me to visit Mawlid Hashim. He says, take me to visit the Zawiyah of Muhammad ibn Habib.
Okay.
So nobody stopped mentioning Mawlid Hashim yet. So just rewind. Nobody mentioned his name at all. I go to see the Muhammad ibn Habib, and
This is the first time you've been there?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Actually.
Anyways, all right.
But I went there and I saw another great saint who passed away, Sidi Ali, he's in that book as well, Sidi Ali, the lumberjack.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And he was there too.
Okay.
And I saw him, I recognized him, because his face was a little deformed because a tree fell on his face.
Yeah.
When he was a young boy.
I remember, yeah.
Sure. And he was there, and he led me in Salatul Asr. He led us in Salatul Dhuhr, and we came praying, and I was visiting Muhammad ibn Habib. In the back of my head, I literally think, I'm here. Oh, God, I wish like one day I could just see Mawlid Hashim.
You'd heard of him?
I've heard of him by that point.
Yeah.
But every time I went, there was no opportunity. Allah just never opened that door. And right when I thought that, a hand taps me and goes, I never met this dude. Why? Taps me and goes, he's like, Assalamu alaikum. He goes, you want to go visit Mawlid Hashim? I'm like, nah, there's no way that just happened. That didn't happen. Like, there's no way. And I'm like, word. And he's like, he looks at the, he goes, Mawlid Hashim. He goes, he said, Raja' Salat al-Asr, come back after Asr prayer. Yeah. So I go out, I get a cappuccino or whatever, come back after Asr, and I went to, and then I came back, and he's like, yeah, let's go visit. We prayed Asr, he's like, let's go visit Mawlid Hashim. He said, let's go. I said, where are you from? He was like, I'm from, he thinks he was from like Safru or something, another city. And I said, oh, mashallah, have you been to Mawlid Hashim before? He's like, nope. I said, have you visited him before? He goes, nope. Yeah. I said, first time, you been to Meknes before? He's like, no. I was like, well, how are you the Zawiyah? He goes, I just need to take a nap. He's like, I just need a nap. So I just stopped at Zawiyah so I can sleep in my travels. He's just passing by.
Okay, this guy who's taking you?
Yeah.
But how does he know where to go?
No idea. Okay. I was like, so we're just going to follow this ninja?
We're going to follow this dude who, never been there?
Yeah, he's like, I was like, so you know where you're going? He goes, Tawakkal ala Allah. He's like, just trust in God.
Okay.
I was like, oh, I'm not gonna argue with that logic. And and I was like, stop real quick. So we went to a sweet store so we can buy, because it was the first time we went empty-handed. So me and my dude, we bought some things for him.
Yeah.
We passed. We get to Baba Mansour gate, which you saw. Baba Mansour. Okay. You saw that big door. Mm-hmm. Once you walk past, because you have to literally go through under a gate to get to his crib, right? And we go back, and there's a little door, and we knock, and there's no noise. And we knock, boom, boom, no noise. And I'm like, in my head, I'm getting more skeptical, because I'm like, yeah, there's no way this was too good to be true, whatever. Yeah. And I was like, let's go. And then I was like, oh, he's not there. It's okay. We can, whatever. He goes, la la la, tathlith min as-sunnah nabi sharif. He's like, doing thing 3 times is from the sunnah.
Yeah.
Right? So he does it one more time, and you hear a woman's voice, shkun hadi? Like, who is that? They go, kain ba'da talamid bighayt yuzur shaykh. There's some students from, like, American students or whatever, want to go visit the shaykh. And he goes, oh, okay. And all of a sudden, the door opens, and all I see is a man with his glasses. His glasses were, like, right here.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he keeps it under his thing.
Yeah.
And he's just wearing his, like, white kufi.
Yeah.
Right? And he goes, marhaban, ahlan wa sahlan, marhaban, ahlan wa sahlan, marhaban.
Yeah, that's it.
Right? Marhaban. And I was like, yeah, mashallah. And and he takes us, you can't help, like, it really, like, makes you feel a certain way when you just thinking about it. To back, like, fed us, and then, you know what I'm saying? And then I asked if I can come visit tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I have an exam, can I ask for it? I go back, and everything was awesome. And it was from the blessings of that Baluchistani brother and that brother from New Jersey. His name was Raza. Allah bless him, inshallah. But they're just young cats, man, inshallah. They're still around, and Allah bless them. I probably, because of their barakah, alhamdulillah, and that they sort of rubbed off on me, then that I had the opportunity to visit. I went back to Sidi Ayashi, and he looks at me and goes, wajadta khair waha. He said, you found something good, didn't you? I told you you'd find something good. And I was like, man, dang, dude, like, whatever. And it's not that, whoa, are these people, like, just getting kashf, like, which is exposure and things, which is maybe a lot of the case, but they're just very present. Yeah. Because, one of the things about them, like, God talks about the awliya. He says, ala inna awliya Allah, la khawf alayhim wa hum la yahzunun. Indeed, the friends of God, which is very timely right now, this verse. Think about this, right? There's no fear upon them, and they don't grieve. Right? They don't fear. They don't fear of and they don't grieve. Fear is like future tense. Right. Grief is past tense. Right? So where are they between that? They're always in the present. Right. They're always they're present with people. Like right now, when they're with you, the most important thing for them is you. Yeah. Like, I'm with you, I'm going to be with you. They're not thinking about anything else.
Not on a cell phone or something.
Nothing. No cell phone. They're just always with you. Like, how are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Right. And some people can't take it. They're just like, oh my God. No, bro. This is how it looks like when somebody actually is taking care of your presence. Right.
I was so, like, the thing is, so about the teen, so later, after Mullah Hashim had sat down, Maria, my 2-year-old, was complaining she wanted water. And so first he, like, does the thing where he, like, taps his hand. I think nobody heard him. So after, like, 10 seconds, he gets up. And then, like, he brings, like, a tray with, like, 6 waters on it, like, glass of water. And he's like, 85, right? You said, told me, like, mid-80s. I think he had a cane, too. And then he goes to this, before we're leaving, he goes into this little, like, cupboard. He opens it up. And he pulls out 2 of these. So explain to the listeners and the viewers what this is.
That's the Wird al-Sharif. That's the Wird that was compiled by Sheikh Muhammad ibn al-Habib from his mashayikh and from that inshallah has connected to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right. But that's their daily Wird. The dhikr is called Wird al-Sharif. Okay. And they usually recite it after Fajr and after Maghrib.
So is it customary that when you visit somebody like this and they give you this, that you take it as a practice for yourself?
Well, you take it. So Allah knows best. What this usually looks like is that they give it as a gift, and they're giving you permission to read it whenever you'd like. Right. Right. If you're somebody that already has another teacher, you should definitely go ask them. Yeah. Because if if you already have a sheikh, the other saints, the other friends of God, and the other people that are part of that tradition, they're like your uncles and your aunties, right? And you look at it like your uncles and your aunties. Yeah. So when your uncles and aunties gives you gifts, you go back to mama and baba and you're like, hey, is it okay if I take it? Is it cool if I take it, right? So there's a certain sense of decorum that you have, but mashallah, if you just use it whenever ever you want to, alhamdulillah. It's for people, there's verses, people say, oh, this is like an innovation, it's a bit that people do. They have like Urdu people have the manzil, they read, right? Every night you see like the aunties, they have a book of like compiled du'as that they always read. Like, I don't know if your mother had it or your father had it before. They'll always have like some du'a. That's it. It's just literally du'as from like Bukhari, Tirmidhi, du'as from the Quran, right? Verses from the Quran on them. It's just in a certain order. Yeah. Right. Like the verse on one of the Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil on there is the dhikr on there. It's from the verse, إذا when people come to with قال إن الناس قد جمعوا فاخشوهم فزادهم إيمانا فقالوا حسبي الله ونعم الوكيل. That if people come to them and they like tell them, you people are plot, like they try to scare you with something, and all that fear does is increase their iman. So say Hasbi Allah, indeed Allah is sufficient for me. Like it's stuff like that, right? Like it comes from that tradition. So it's an attempt to have obviously you read your Quran. It's not a zero-sum game either. Like do all the other stuff too. But if you want to do this as well, not a zero-sum
don't
game.
skip Fajr and then like
that's wild. There's no point. There's no point.
Miss Fajr, but get up and do this.
That's why. That's talk about
as we
priorities.
Final point I want to wrap up that I want to talk about is that.
But you also visited another person.
So there's this. I want to talk. We talked about someone who's famous, who's well known. But I want to talk about someone who I wasn't planning to meet. I didn't know who the heck he was. And he fits the category of someone who's not known. So, I think it was Juma. I think it was Friday. We were supposed to go. So we prayed Juma at Qayrawayyin. And then Sheikh Idris hooked us up.
He's known, dude.
No, there's someone else. I'll get the story.
Right, okay.
So we did that. Sheikh Idris got us into the the bookstore, and like he's the Grand Sheikh, right? Or the dean, or
he's
whatever.
One of my closest.
Right. And he spoke English. I was like impressed, man. So
which I did. I've known him for 5 years, and he spit out English ones. I said, "Wait, 5 years? You're gonna tell me now?"
Right. Yeah. So this is Sheikh Idris Al-Fasi. You'll see him in some of the documentaries, City of Saints.
Oh, he's in there too.
He's in that. You see him. There's a more recent one where Habib Omar went. He's in that. He's in that one. But anyways, so we do Juma. We have lunch, and then we're gonna go to the top of the castles outside Fez to get some pictures. Before like around Maghrib time. So my friend from Houston was there. Remember we alluded to like I ran into an old friend there by just like coincidence. You say it's not coincidence, but like we were there the same 3 nights, so we ended up having a great time. And Sidi Ayub took us both around, so we ended up going to get our cars, and we're exiting the parking lot by my friend's Riyadh, his hotel, and Sidi Ayub stops the car in the parking lot, like, and he's like, Sidi, excuse me, I'm sorry, we have to stop right now. And I'm like, what's going on? He's like, there's a big wali right there. I have to go get dua for him. And so we get out, and I just follow him. I'm like, well, this guy's like, he just like stops. And then he's like, this guy's blind. And he's like, and then I asked him to make some dua for us too. Like, and he held my hand and stuff. And he's like asking us to come inside his house for tea. But he's like sitting in his chair, like at the exit of the parking lot, just chit-chatting with these 2 other dudes. And he's blind. And he's like kind of hard of hearing. A little bit too, so we had to like get close to him. But his name was
Sheikh Al-Qandari.
Right? Yes.
Sheikh Al-Qandari.
Yeah. And I was like, and then he was like, nobody knows about this guy, but like Sidi Idris, Sheikh Idris, the Mashayikh, they know, and that's what like my wife was asking because she was new to this idea. She was like seeing this culture. This was new to her, so she asked Sidi Ayub. Like she wasn't in the car, but we told later, and she's like, well, how do you know if they're like how are these people known? And then it was like, oh, because the Mashayikh know. Like, they can vouch for that. Like, the well-known scholars, they know about it. So, that was interesting. That was an interesting experience of seeing the other end, where you see this, like, poor blind man, who, like, literally, our friend just stopped the car. He's like, we have to go, like, have him make dua for us. He says so. It's like every time I see him, he's like, I will go, like, give him my salams, greet him, and ask him for some prayers.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's something you want me to talk about Sheikh Amina?
If you want.
What do you want me to say? So that was like also kind of not unplanned. It kind of like happened like very like last because we were only there for 3 days, and you had mentioned when you had mentioned to me you have female teachers before, right? And again, you have like in America you have like Dr. Ingrid Madsen and Tamara Gray and people like this, right? But so I'm like, all right, let's sure, I'll get to Tangier a little late, no big deal. We made some time to hit up this patisserie, the Ben Yahya, and then we went to go find Sheikh Amina Katani, and that was cool just to see like my wife interact with her and like my kids too. And she asked if we knew any French, and we're like, no, we don't know French. And this kind of was like, man, I wish I knew some Arabic. I tried to like say whatever Arabic I knew. Like I studied some books of Maliki fiqh, etc. As like butchered it, right? like Darasna Kutubun Madhab Malikiya, right? Etc. So, anyways, yeah. So she was just like again, just real like simple lady. She was just chilling. She was like talking to us. Like we basically picked her up on the side of the road. She was like kind of like going about her day, like running errands, and she was like talking to somebody. So she just like jumped in our car. Like literally just jumped in our car.
Yeah.
Like literally, I like basically I jumped out of the front seat. I let her get in the front seat, and then she's like she walks in and she's like shaking my wife's hand. She's like ahlan ahlan, and like to my daughters too, and like, and then she prays for all of us by like the mother's name as like I think you had mentioned that before as well. So yeah, that was definitely nice way to cool. That was like the last thing I did in Fez.
Mashallah, yeah.
The last thing I did in Fez was like visit Sheikh Amina, and then we dropped her off, and then Sidi Ayub got me to the highway, and he bounced and he like took a cab. I made him sing for me a couple times, and then he like
Mashallah,
he gave me like a parting gift of like a nasheed, and like I got on my way to Tangier. But yeah, that's pretty. So
yeah, I sent Ayub a message. I was like, do whatever. Make sure that they go visit Sayyida Amina before. Don't let them go to Tangier before. I'm like, don't let these ninjas go to Tangier.
Yeah, because again, she wasn't really. Yeah. It was like, and I wasn't really sure how much because I'm more into this stuff than my wife is. She's not against it. It's just like something she doesn't really like look into. So I think it's I wasn't sure if I was kind of skeptical that she would, but again, she had no plan for Fez. She was like kind of left Fez up to me.
Yeah.
Right. And the only thing she wanted to do was go to hammam in the 3 days. The only thing she really she got it, and then she's like, I want you to go too. So, that was something that we so I kind of like was able, but I was just a little worried that like I hope she doesn't like get mad that we're like here on vacation and we're doing us religious stuff.
Did she get upset?
No, I was just concerned. I was like a little in the back of my head, you've been married long enough. You're like, man, I'm gonna get in trouble for something.
Yeah, mashallah. No, no, but yeah, also sort of to wrap up like that thing that I was once with the Sayyid once, and he was walking down the street, and he was a very like aristocratic man, and there are a man with a donkey picking up the trash, putting inside of the donkey in the morning. It's like Fajr. He walks up and he kisses his hand. Yeah. It's like, well, what just happened? And he's like, no, he's a big friend of Allah. He's a saint of Allah. The point we're trying to make is, I think that with all of this is, at some point you have to get back in the tradition of visiting people, of giving people a sense of station. Yeah. Whether they're people and this is for people in your family. This thing is not what I know. This sounds like the way we talk about it. It sounds really romantic and fancy, and all of these things. And there is a part of it that is, but it's not rocket science. Like feeding people, and taking this is not like feeding people and visiting people, and what I'm saying, like smile, like being nice and smiling. Like at the end of the day, you said like there's something about these people, and I was like, yeah, Maheen, they're just decent human beings. Like they're just nice guys, dude. At the core of it, they're just really nice people. Like, right. You know what I'm saying? So what it's trying to tell you is, I think there's a beautiful hadith. The Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Ala nabiyukum khiyarukum," should I not tell you the best of you? And they said, Bala ya Rasulullah, of course, O Messenger of Allah. He said, إِذَا يَرَاهُ ذَكَرَ اللَّهُ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. If somebody sees them, they're reminded of God right away. Yeah. Right? سُرُنِهِمْ آيَاتِنَا فِي آفَاقِ وَأَنفُسِهِمْ. We're going to show you signs in the horizons and within yourselves. حَتَّى يُبَيِّنَ لَهُمْ إِنَّهُ حَقًّا. Until it's made true that this is the truth. When you see them, you're like, I don't know what this is, but that's the truth. Right? That's why Michael Sukuja's book is called Signs of the Horizon. Yeah. No, but I feel like going to Fez is like the feeling you get of like recharge of going like Umrah. SubhanAllah. Mashallah, but I think that only happens if you go to the right. If people. You go right, you could go kick it too. You know what I'm saying? You could if you want. Yeah. But like you see camel burgers and like you get camel burgers. Find a cute Moroccan chick tour guide. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. Travel vloggers. Yeah. You could go to travel, or you could go visit. Or you could do both. I'm right. Kidding. We'll see. But inshallah, I hope we can go next year. Inshallah, man. Alhamdulillah. And then we are starting. So we're gonna be announcing, inshallah, a group of people taking a group of people every year, inshallah, to Fez. Okay. And inshallah to visit some of these people. A lot of these people I said are old. Yeah. So we gotta, if you want to go, I would recommend trying to at least come with people that know what they're doing and end sooner than
the near
later,
future,
inshallah,
sure.
in the near future. But Allah make you, man. I'm glad you had a great trip there, man.
Yeah,
MashaAllah.
it was great. I was like, I gotta thank you for it. So like,
No, dude. على واجب على راسي وعيني والله.
yeah. All right, man. All right, so listeners out there, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I just got on TikTok.
What?
So yeah.
What do you do?
You got to cover more markets.
Yeah.
I need more people listening to the show.
You need the 13-year-olds. You need the 12-year-old.
Who knows, man?
You need LeBron's kids, Bronny.
But with that being said, we'll leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes, and we're signing off. Gotta go do a podcast now for Mad Mamluks.
Mashallah.
Take care.
Take care, guys.
All right.
Assalamu alaikum.